On a storm-ravaged evening, in a town where secrets festered beneath the surface, a retired cop's past came crashing back with deadly force. Gregory Jameson, once a legend in law enforcement, thought he had escaped the darkness. But the shadows were closing in, and they had a score to settle. What he didn't know was that his quiet retirement would be short-lived. Drawn back into a web of lies and betrayal he thought he had left behind. As the rain beat down, Gregory would face an unimaginable truth. A truth that would lead him into a sinister plot. One that would ultimately cost him everything, including his life. Make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next spine-tingling story. Gregory Jameson had always thought he was finished. After 25 years as a decorated officer, he had earned his peace. His badge, once a symbol of authority and respect, now lay forgotten in a drawer, gathering dust. The house he had bought with his wife, now empty after her passing, was his sanctuary. A place to find solace, to reflect on the days when he had put his life on the line for the people who had trusted him. His days were spent in the garden, tending to the flowers his late wife had loved, each petal reminding him of the life they had built together. But the silence, though comforting at first, soon became suffocating. The quiet of retirement made him restless, and the past, with all its unresolved questions, began to gnaw at him. Chief among them was the mystery surrounding Vince Russo, a ruthless crime boss whose disappearance had haunted Gregory's career. Russo's syndicate had been a menace, and Jameson had spent years trying to bring him down. But after a series of failed raids and Russo's sudden vanishing, the case had been cold. For years, Gregory wondered if Russo had faked his death, slipping through the cracks of justice. The possibility of that had kept Gregory up at night, his mind unable to let go. Then, one rainy evening, everything changed. Gregory had just finished his dinner when a knock echoed through the quiet house. He wasn't expecting anyone, and the unexpected visitor left him uneasy. When he opened the door, he was met by a man dressed in a sharp, black suit. He was in his late 30s, with a stern expression and eyes that seemed to pierce right through Gregory. "I'm Detective Mark Donovan," the man introduced himself, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "I need your help, Mr. Jameson. There's something you need to see." Gregory hesitated. He hadn't dealt with law enforcement in years, and the last thing he wanted was to be pulled back into the chaos of the past. But Donovan's presence was commanding, and something in his eyes made Gregory's instincts stir. "What's this about?" Gregory asked, his voice wary. "It's about Vincent Russo," Donovan replied, his tone dropping to a whisper. "We've found something. Something that says he's still alive." The mention of Russo sent a cold shiver down Gregory's spine. He had always suspected that the man hadn't truly disappeared, but he hadn't expected this. Donovan explained that a new lead had emerged, a cryptic message from one of Russo's former associates. It suggested that Russo wasn't just alive, he was hiding in plain sight, operating under a new identity in Gregory's own town. "I need your experience, your knowledge," Donovan urged. "We're in too deep, and I don't know who to trust. We could use someone with your skills." Gregory, though hesitant, found himself drawn back into the investigation. Something told him that this wasn't just about Russo anymore. It was something much bigger, something that had been brewing in the shadows for far too long. The deeper Gregory and Donovan dug into the case, the more unsettling the truth became. Russo's syndicate had never truly gone away. It had evolved, becoming more sophisticated, more dangerous. They found evidence of money laundering, illegal arms deals, and a network of corrupt officials in positions of power. Every turn they took led them deeper into a world where even the highest authorities could not be trusted. But it wasn't just the syndicate that was dangerous. The more Gregory learned, the more he realized that he had become a pawn in a much larger game. His old colleagues, men he had worked alongside, were now tangled in the conspiracy. People he had trusted for decades were compromised, their loyalty bought and sold. One night, while going through old files in the police archives, Gregory came across a name that made his blood run cold: Detective Mark Donovan. It was a name he had heard only in passing, a junior officer who had been a part of an unsolved case years ago. But as Gregory dug deeper, it became clear. Donovan was more involved than he had let on. He was playing a game of his own. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. The revelation hit Gregory hard. The man he had trusted was not just a partner in the investigation. He was a key player in the syndicate, and Gregory had unknowingly walked right into a trap. Gregory's suspicions proved correct when Donovan called him one evening, telling him to meet at a secluded warehouse on the edge of town. It was a trap, one that Gregory walked into with his eyes wide open. As he arrived at the location, the door slammed shut behind him, and he saw Donovan standing there, holding a gun. But the look on his face was not one of surprise. It was a look of cold resolve. "You've gotten too close, Jameson," Donovan said, his voice calm but menacing. "You should have stayed out of this." Gregory's heart raced as the realization hit him. Donovan was the one who had orchestrated everything. He had manipulated Gregory into uncovering the truth, only to eliminate him once the pieces were in place. With a quick motion, Donovan raised his gun and fired. The bullet grazed Gregory's shoulder, and he stumbled back, pain searing through him. But Gregory wasn't done. Using his years of training, he knocked the gun out of Donovan's hands and took control of the situation. But as Gregory advanced on Donovan, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Alicia Russo, Vincent Russo's daughter. "I knew you'd get too close," she said, her voice dripping with venom. "You were always going to be the loose end, Gregory." Alicia revealed that she had been running the syndicate all along, and that Donovan had been working for her. But it wasn't just about money or power. It was about revenge, her father's revenge on the man who had nearly brought him down. As Alicia stepped closer, Gregory realized that he was too weak to fight. Blood poured from his wound, and the darkness around him grew heavier. He had done all he could, exposed the syndicate, brought down Donovan, and exposed the lies. But in the end, it wasn't enough. Alicia aimed her gun at Gregory, her eyes cold and unforgiving. But as she pulled the trigger, there was a flash of light from the doorway. Police officers burst into the room, guns drawn. They had been tipped off by one of Gregory's old colleagues, a final act of loyalty. The bullet missed its mark, but it was too late for Gregory. He collapsed onto the floor, his vision fading. His last thoughts were of the town he had tried to protect, and the life he had lost. The murder of Gregory Jameson rocked the town to its core. What had initially appeared to be a random act of violence was soon revealed to be part of a much larger conspiracy. The exposure of the Russo syndicate was a triumph, but it came at a cost. Alicia Russo disappeared into the shadows, her empire intact. But Gregory's legacy lived on, not just as a fallen officer, but as the man who had uncovered the darkness lurking beneath the surface. His death would never be forgotten, and his name would forever be tied to the fight for justice in a world that was willing to bury the truth. Never forget, trust can be a dangerous weapon, as even those closest to you can hide dark secrets, and sometimes, seeking justice can come at the highest personal cost. And never underestimate the complexity of the past, as it may always come back to haunt you in unexpected ways. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next chilling tales.